Have you ever wondered why it looks like suffering pursues you? Why even when everything seems to be doing well, does something happen and everything falls back again? Why do you feel the pain is always a step back, ready to reach you when you least expect it? And if I told you that this is not unlucky, it's no coincidence, let alone punishment, and if I revealed you that there is a hidden spiritual secret behind this repetitive pattern, a silent code that no one has ever taught you how to decipher, you are not here by chance. This message has found you because your soul is trying to show you something. There is a deep and spiritual reason behind so much suffering, and as long as you keep believing that all this is your fault or the result of wrong choices, you will remain attached to the same cycle. The truth is that the suffering you attract didn't come to punish you. He came to awaken you. Yes, maybe that seems strange to hear. Perhaps it even causes resistance at first. But if you really look sincerely for the last years of your life, you will notice a pattern. You will remember the times when you thought everything was setting up, and suddenly everything collapsed. The people who left without explanation, the relationships that seemed true and proved toxic, the loneliness that came back, even surrounded by people, the fear that never left, the losses that arrived without warning. None of this is random. None of this is small. You are attracting suffering because there is a part of your soul that has not yet been seen, a part that screams for healing, by attention, for truth. The universe is much smarter than it seems. It does not allow certain standards to continue to happen just by evil. He wants you to wake up. And often, pain is the only language he is sure you will hear. You may be listening to this now and feeling that I am talking exactly about your life. Maybe you feel that you have tried everything. Who has already sought help? Who already prayed? Who has tired of fighting things he doesn't even understand? But what no one has ever told you is that suffering only repeats itself when you refuse to hear what it is trying to teach. And yes, I know you don't want to suffer. No one wants, but you can no longer keep running away from something inside you. This pain that seems to follow you, it is rooted in ancient memories, in unique traumas, in unconscious pacts, in beliefs you carry from childhood, or perhaps even before her. The pain is not coming from outside. She is echoing what needs to be looked inside. And until you turn your eyes inward, you will continue to attract experiences that only confirm what you have not healed yet. The feeling of not being loved, not being enough, of not having value, of not having place. But what if I told you that all this can change? Not with empty promises, nor with motivational phrases, but with conscience, with truth, with courage. You do not need to continue to be a victim of suffering itself. You just need to learn to decipher what he is trying to tell you. And that's exactly what we're going to do from now on. Do you want me to continue with the next part? And that's exactly what we're going to do from now on, because you have already carried that weight too long. He has walked in the dark with repeated trails, relying more on pain than himself. And now it's time to turn this key. Time to look with other eyes on all that you always thought it was just bad luck, karma, punishment, or life thing. None of that. It is spiritual language. It is your call. It's your healing knocking on the door. But for this healing to happen, you need to be full here with me, present, attentive, willing. This video is not just another content on the internet. This is a direct conversation with your soul. And maybe, yes, you don't even understand everything right away. Maybe something just stirs inside. A nuisance, a shiver, a desire to cry. All this is part, because when the soul recognizes a truth, the body feels, emotion responds. So if something here has already touched you, if you felt that I was talking about you, comment below. Not ashamed, not with fear, with truth. Because writing is a spiritual act. It's a way of saying, I recognize my pain. I'm ready to understand why my suffering. You can write, "I'm ready to understand what my pain is trying to show me." Or if you want to be more direct, "Enough of suffering meaningless." These simple phrases create a link, a sign, an energy statement to the universe that you are choosing to awaken. Then take a deep breath, stay with me, because now we will dive into the depths of this pain, not to drown in it, but to finally understand why it is there, what she means, and how you can break free. Let's go together. You have tried to change everything. I've read books. He has already made prayers, already sought answers in all DI reactions. You have tried to maintain faith, sustain optimism, think positive, but inside, something still knocks you down. Because even with so much effort, suffering continues to come back. And you start wondering in silence, why? What am I doing wrong? But perhaps the error is not in your choices. Perhaps the error is to think that you are wrong. You feel that no matter how much you try, as much as you change, no matter how much it fights, it seems that something invisible pulling you back to the same place. You get out of a painful cycle and enter another that somehow has the same bitter taste. You break free from a toxic person, but it attracts another with the same energy. You change your job, change your city, change your routine, but anguish goes there, as if it were part of you, as if stuck to your skin. And this is where the problem lives. We learn to believe that suffering comes from outside, which is the other that hurts us, which is the destination that does not cooperate, which is the universe testing us. But deep down, the deepest suffering is not born out. It comes on inside, and everything that hurts us outside is almost always a reflection of what has not yet been understood, welcomed, and transformed here. It can be difficult to accept this. We resist the idea that it may be attracting suffering, because that seems unfair, it looks cruel. But what if it is the opposite? What if you understand this is precisely the key to liberation? Do you feel that it attracts pain? Do you feel that you are always in a relationship where you need to beg for love, attention, or respect? Do you feel the abandonment became a standard? That loneliness became company? That rejection seems to know your address? Perhaps this is not unlucky. Maybe this is something inside you asking to be looked at, because the pain is repeated not to punish you, but to teach you. And until the lesson is learned, the cycle renews itself. As long as the wound is open, you will continue to attract experiences that play the exact same point. Maybe back there when you were a child, you learned that you needed to shut up to be loved, that needed to behave to be accepted, who needed to hide, who was supposed to be included. And there, at that point, a pain was born, a belief, a pattern, and this pattern grew with you. He was dressed in different situations, different people, different contexts, but the essence remained the same. I need to suffer to be seen. And no, you are not to blame for that. You just repeated what you learned. Only now, already adult, conscious, you have a choice. You have access to the truth. And the truth is that no one came into the world to suffer. But almost everyone needs to go through pain to wake up. And here is what no one tells you. The suffering you attract doesn't come because you deserve pain. He comes because there is a part of his crying for healing, a forgotten, suffocated, neglected part. And she is trying to draw your attention the only way she can, making you revive, once and over, what needs to be looked at. You do not attract suffering because you are weak. You attract suffering because there is a truth within you that has not yet had a voice, a wound that has not yet been welcomed, a void that has not yet been filled with your own love. Emotional pain is the scream of the soul, and when this scream is ignored, it echoes in relationships, finances, health, the opportunities that are sabotaged before it even begins. It all starts to revolve around the same frequency, an unconscious vibration that says, I don't deserve good. I need to suffer to evolve. Nothing is easy for me. And the universe, which responds to your energy, only returns what you are emitting. You have realized how sometimes, even when things are doing well, do you feel that something will go wrong? It is like an inner lock, an expectation of pain. And guess what? She manifests herself. Because the pain you expect, consciously or unconsciously, is the pain you attract. But this is not sentence. It is a sign that it is time to change the standard, to stop repeating the same routes, waiting for different destinations. Sign that you already have enough maturity to face what lives in silence within you. The suffering that comes back is the suffering you did not want to hear. The pain that is repeated is the call that has been ignored. The humiliation that insists on appearing is the reflection of your own internal judgment. Because when you reject yourself, the world rejects you. When you leave yourself, others do the same. When you punish yourself, everything around becomes punishment. And this is the most challenging, but also the most liberating part. You are not a victim of your suffering. You are his unconscious creator, and that means you can also be the conscious creator of your healing. You already carried too much weight that was not yours, has already suffered trying to please. I already bled trying to fit in. He has already silenced for fear of being rejected. But now it's time to break this cycle. It's time to hear your pain with spiritual maturity. To look at her and ask, what do you want to show me? Because every pain brings a message. Every pain hides a lesson. And until you decode this lesson, the pain will continue to touch your door, with different faces, with different voices, but with the same essence. If all this is making sense to you, if at some point in this conversation you thought, my God, it seems that he is describing my life, then comments down here. Comment on truth. No need to write much, just one sentence. I recognize my pain cycles. Enough of repeating the same standards. I'm ready to look inside. Are you ready to go further? So take a deep breath and follow me. Are you ready to go further? So take a deep breath and follow me, because now it's time to understand that this pain you feel has root, logic, energy, memory, and has history. It has not come by chance, and it is not an invention of your mind. There is a much deeper field in action, invisible to the eyes, but absolutely alive within you. And that's why we need to talk about it. Carl Jung. Jung was not just a psychologist. He was an explorer of the human soul, a man who was not afraid to look at the shadow, to cross the mazes of the unconscious, to dialogue with what many would rather ignore. While the world sought logical answers, he heard the symbols. As science tried to silence the spiritual, Jung embraced ancestry, archetypes, dreams, myths, the numbers that repeat themselves, the signs that seem coincidence but carry meaning. He said clearly, everything that does not become conscious returns as a destination, and that's where the explanation of your suffering begins, because what you haven't looked inside yet, what was repressed, suffocated, denied, forgotten, come back to you in the form of experiences, come back as pain, as a crisis, as repetition, back with different names but with the same essence. Do you feel you are living a painful destination that attracts suffering without understanding why? Perhaps this fate is just an unconscious part of you asking to be recognized. And Jung called this shadow part. The shadow is all that you repressed. That's all you believed it was wrong to feel. It is all that society taught you that it was not acceptable. This is what you had to hide to be loved. This is what you silent not to be rejected. It's the scream you have drowned out to survive. But just because you hid it, it doesn't mean it ceased to exist. The shadow remains there, live. And if you don't look at her, she acts for you. She chooses her relationships. She sabots her opportunities. It destroys what you want most. It makes you attract suffering. And no, it doesn't happen because you are weak or unlucky. It happens because you still don't understand that true cure begins with the integration of the shadow. It starts when you stop fighting with her and start listening to her. Jung believed that everything we ignore becomes fate precisely because somehow It needs to be lived, even if unconsciously, and that changes everything, because it shows that you are not being punished, you are being awakened. Pain is not the end of the line, it is the alarm. And the suffering that insists on accompanying you is just the reflection of the part of your soul that you have not yet welcomed. It is as if the universe said, as long as you don't look at it, I'll keep showing you. And that is exactly what happens. The shadow creates the mirrors, the people who reject you, abandon you, humiliate you, ignore you. They are not coincidence. They just reproduce what you do yourself internally without realizing it. You reject yourself every time you think you feel too much. If you abandon each time you accept less than you deserve. He humbles himself every time he shuts up his truth to keep someone around. Jung said that in order to live a true life, we need to dive into the unconscious. And that includes walking through the inner world with honesty. Recognize the monsters you hide. Name your pains. Look in the mirror of the soul without masks. Only then do you start creating, no longer from suffering but from consciousness, of the choice, of the presence. And this is not just theory. It is applied spirituality. It is soul psychology. Because if you observe well, you will realize that this view is not new. The ancients already knew that. In several ancestral cultures, pain was understood as a rite of passage. The shadows were welcomed in shamanic rituals. Dreams were treated as sacred messages. The disease was seen as spiritual imbalance. Suffering was understood as part of the way of awakening. That is, nothing you feel is banal. Nothing you live is random. Everything has meaning. Everything has root. Everything has an answer. Suffering is the invitation. The shadow is the master. The soul is the one who leads. And you are the only one you can choose if tenules resisting or begins to reconnect. Because the moment you understand that your suffering is only the way life has found to remind you of what was forgotten, you change. You stop seeing yourself as a victim and begins to recognize himself as a search engine, as someone who is not lost, but on journey. You are here listening to this because your soul wants to remember. Remember who you were before the pain. Remember when I still knew how to hear your own signs. Remember your spiritual power. Remember your light. And I know this is not simple, but it's real. And from here, it all starts to make more sense. Because the more you understand why suffering, the easier you become stopping it. The more light you play on the shadow, the more pain loses strength. The more conscious you become, the less hostage to destination you are. So now, with all this throbbing inside you, with truths echoing in every corner of your being, I want to make you an invitation from soul to soul. If this content has awakened something to you, comment below. Comments with presence, with truth, with courage. He writes, I'm ready to look at my shadow. Or, my suffering is not punishment, it is called. Or even, I choose to turn pain into consciousness. These words are not just comments. These are spiritual statements. These are portals you open to new realities, because we are only at the beginning. What comes now will show you what it really means to live with conscience and purpose. Closes your eyes. Breathe, because the next part will show you what is behind the pain, the map of your liberation. Is it ready? Then follow me. Closes your eyes. Breathe, because the next part will show you what is behind the pain, the map of your liberation. Suffering, however cruel, is not an accident. He is a reflection. It is not suddenly enough as a random curse. It emerges as a consequence of something much deeper that happens within you. And this is where you need to start seeing beyond the obvious. Because no, you don't attract suffering because you deserve to suffer. You attract what you need to look at, what needs to heal, what is hidden in your energy field, your unconscious, in your emotional body. Suffering is often the only language the soul knows to draw your attention. Because the soul does not speak with words. It communicates through sensations, vibrations, experiences. And if you don't hear when she whispers, she starts screaming. If you do not listen to subtle discomfort, it speaks through collapse. The soul is not cruel, it is persistent, because she knows who you really are, and she won't rest until you remember. So when you enter a cycle of pain, when it seems that everything is repeated, the losses, the voids, the rejections, the failures, it's not because something out there is wrong. It's because something inside you is crying out for light. Suffering is the mirror that reflects what has not yet been healed. It shows the cracks of the soul, shows where the energy is stuck, where there is an emotional knot, where there is a living memory, even if you have already consciously forgotten. How many times have you seen each other in the same kind of situation with different people? How many times have you loved to be saved? Did you donate beyond the limit, hoping to be recognized? How many times have you been after someone who, deep down, just reminded you of the abandonment you lived back there as a child? This is standard, and standard is not unlucky. It is unconscious programming. You are made of stories, emotions, traits you inherited without realizing it. Each cell in your body carries information from your childhood, your ancestry, from past experiences, perhaps even from previous lives, depending on your belief. All of this connects to you like a subtle, invisible, but extremely real network. And this network influences how you vibrate, what you emanate, and consequently, what you attract. If there is an open emotional wound within you, be of abandonment, rejection, humiliation, devaluation, it vibrates. And everything that vibrates communicates. Everything that communicates attracts. So you are not choosing to suffer consciously. But your vibration is still connected with suffering, and the universe can only return you what you are emitting. He does not respond to his words. He responds to his energy. Then you wonder, but how to change that? The first step is to understand, because you can only change what you see. As long as you believe suffering is a punishment, you will fight it. It will resist, you will feel wronged. But when you understand that it is a mirror, a reflection, a signal, you start to ask the right question. What is this pain trying to show me? This question changes everything, because she takes you out of the position of victim and puts you in the observer position, of curator, of someone who is willing to see the pain as a teacher, and that changes the game. Of course, not all suffering starts with you. Many of their standards are emotional inheritances, cycles that come from your parents, your grandparents, of unlisted stories of your lineage, memories that were repressed, traumas that were swept under the rug, pains that no one had the courage to look. All this goes on until someone decides to break the cycle, until someone says, enough, I'm going to heal what didn't start in me, but you live in me. Maybe you are this person in your family, perhaps you are the conscious link. The soul awakens, the seed of light in a tree full of shadows. And it is no coincidence, you were chosen, you have been prepared, and that's why your pain is so intense. Because it carries layers. She is not just yours, she is collective, it is ancestral, it is spiritual, and at the same time it is your responsibility, because only you can transform it. No one can do this for you. But make no mistake, you have everything you need. The pain does not bring you down because it is bigger than you. She challenges you because she wants to reveal her size. She didn't come to break you, came to show you how broken you have been and how you can gather again. When you understand this, suffering begins to lose the power you had about you. He is no longer a punishment and begins to be an invitation, a call, a portal. The wound becomes passage. The tear turns into a seed. The collapse becomes rebirth. You stop running, stop blaming yourself, stop hiding. And it begins, for the first time, to hear what pain has been trying to say for so long. It begins to take care of your part that no one knew how to love, to embrace the forgotten piece you have learned to reject. And gradually the frequency changes, your energy changes, your field begins to issue another vibration. And the universe responds. You start attracting different people, lighter situations, more aligned paths, because now you are no longer asking to be saved. It is choosing to be whole. This is the spiritual explanation of suffering. This is the truth that no one tells you. The pain you feel is the way your soul has found to go home. And as long as you escape her, she follows you. But when you stop and look with the eyes of your heart, it transforms itself. If this passage touched you, it made sense to you, comments down here. Comment with the soul, with your truth, with what is vibrating now. He writes, "Suffering is revealing me. I choose to see what my pain wants to show me. My soul is ready to transform patterns." These phrases are anchor. These are statements of conscience. And if you are not already registered, subscribe now. Because in the next few steps, we will explore how to get out of suffering with practice, presence, with living spirituality. The next dive is about how to apply all this in real life on a daily basis on the journey of your healing. Are you ready for that? So breathe and still with me. So breathe and still with me. Because now it's time to feel, not just understand, not just listening, but feel. Feel in depth, with truth, with the soul. How many times have you caught yourself saying in silence or out loud, "That again?" How many times have you looked at the sky, to nothing, with you, with a tiredness that goes beyond the physical, and asked, "Why does it always come back? Why does my life turn in circles? Why all that starts well ends in pain?" These questions are not new to you. They appear at times when something inside you breaks again, when you trust and it's betrayed, when you surrender and it is rejected, when you dream and it's frustrated, and the most painful is that deep down you already expected. It is not. You try to keep faith, try to believe that it will now be different, but a part of you deep down still carries that silent, almost embarrassed distrust that the pain will come back. And many times she comes back because the pain does not respect calendars, does not ask for permission. She just enters. And when it comes in, it comes with everything you thought it had already surpassed. You have noticed how situations change, but the feeling is always the same. The face changes. The scenario changes. Sometimes the plot even seems different, but the outcome is the same. Similar tears, family anguish, the same feeling of not being seen, not to be loved, of not being enough. And then you start thinking that maybe the problem is in you, that you may be too broken, too intense, too fragile. But what if this is not? What if what you call fragility is actually spiritual sensitivity? What if this repeated pain is the way your soul has found to wake you up? The soul doesn't want you to repeat. The soul wants you to break free. And maybe you are tired of fighting, tired of starting over, tired of waiting for a truce of life that never arrives. You may have learned to smile on the outside while screaming inside. Maybe you got used to hiding, resisting, then forward, pretending to force, but the pain is still there, silent, present, like a shadow that never completely moves away, because she doesn't want to knock you down. She wants you to stop. May you look, that you listen. Have you ever wondered what part of your story is still alive inside you? What memory still holds you? What absence still shapes you? Which word still echoes when the world silences? The child you were still lives in there, and it carries memories you don't remember. It carries promises that you have not fulfilled with it. He carries the pain of not being protected, validated, loved the way he needed it. And this pain becomes a standard, in energy, in vibration, in suffering that is repeated. You are carrying pains that are not from now, pains that come from there, a long time ago, maybe even from other lives, maybe of your lineage, perhaps from the collective unconscious, but they are in you and are asking for healing. And if you close your eyes now and breathe deeply, maybe you can feel it. Feel where it hurts, not in the physical body, but in the soul. A pain that has no name but has weight, a pain that does not bleed but chokes. that does not scream but tires. And this pain is the portal, the starting point, because as long as you try to escape her, she will continue to seek you. But when you decide to sit with her, look into her eyes, ask what she wants, it all starts to change. It all starts to make sense. You don't need magic formulas. You really need it. Of presence, of courage to feel, because the pain only continues to exist when you reject it. When you welcome you, it begins to dissolve. She tells you, I'm just here because you didn't look at me. And then you understand. Suffering is not an enemy. He is a mirror. He is revealing you what needs to be seen. And that's where liberation begins. When you exchange the question, why is this happening to me? For what does this want to show me? When you stop resisting and start dialogue. When you stop trying to control everything and start listening to what your soul has been trying to say for so long. Maybe you need to cry. Maybe you need to scream. Maybe you need to write everything you feel. It doesn't matter how. The important thing is that you start, that you release. May you allow the standing energy to start circulating. And more than that, may you realize that you are not alone, because there is an invisible network of souls going through it. People who also wake up feeling that you can't take it anymore, who also wonders why everything hurts so much, and that is also trying to meet in the middle of chaos. You are not broken, you are awakening, and the awakening sometimes hurts, but it is a different type of pain, a cleansing pain, that reveals, that pushes you inside. Because that's where the answer is. This is where healing begins. And if you got here still listening to me, still feeling, it's because your soul is ready to do differently, ready to say enough, ready to stop repeating, ready to remember who you are. And now I want to make you an invitation. If you felt recognized somewhere what I said, if something touched you deep, comments down here. It doesn't have to be much, just something that represents this moment. You can write, I'm ready to break the cycle. My pain wants to be heard. Today I recognize what needs to be healed. These phrases are like keys, words of power, statements to the universe. When you write, you anchor what you felt. You shape what was loose. You transform emotion into action. Subscribe here to the channel, because in the next steps we will dive even more. Let's bring light to these standards, apply real practices, talk about how to start healing for truth, spirituality, conscientious depth. Closes your eyes, breathe, because the journey is still starting just. And now, she will take you even closer to your truth. Follow with me, write me, because now is the time to see what you might have never been able to see clearly. And for that, we need to go beyond direct words. We need to invoke the images, the metaphors. Because the soul does not speak through logic. She speaks for symbols, by archetypes, by views that carry a meaning you feel before you even understand. And that's why now, to take a further step, I want you to imagine. Not only do you think, but visualize, feel, dive. Imagine that life is like a gigantic mirror, an old ancestral mirror that has existed since its first sigh. This mirror not only shows you who you are today, but everything you have been, everything you carry. All the fragments of your story, the ones you remember, the ones you deleted, the inherited without realizing it. Each piece of this mirror contains a part of you. Memories, emotions, scars, learning, forgotten promises, trauma, liltos, shelved dreams, unavoided wounds. And now look at this mirror. Can you see that he is cracked? It is not completely broken, but you notice the lines, the cracks, the marks of time and pain. These cracks are not defects. They are stories. They are memories. These are tracks of the path you have toured here. But it is also the points where your image fragments, where you do not see yourself whole, where your perception of yourself is distorted, duplicated, unfocused. Now imagine that every time you attract suffering, every time you repeat a painful pattern, each time you feel you are living another cycle of pain, it's because you are looking at this mirror. but seeing only the injured fragments. As if its image were being reflected only by the cracked parts, the parts that have not yet been integrated, welcomed, enlightened. And so you keep attracting what vibrates at this frequency, not because you want it, but because that's all you can see. This metaphor is not a poetic invention, it is a spiritual reality. Life will always reflect back what is alive within you, and if within you there is a rejected, abandoned, not loved part, does not accept, it is this part that screams. It is she who shows itself. It is she who magnetizes experiences, people, situations, who echo exactly what you have not healed yet. Imagine now that you hold one of these pieces of the mirror, a fragment. He is cold, dirty, burdened. And when you look, you see your own face, but he's distorted, tired, wounded, and you feel like releasing this piece, to run away, not to see. But what if instead did you decide to clean it? If carefully, would you put your hand over him even for fear of cutting himself? If you look at that part of yours with compassion, not judgment, gradually the reflection would begin to change. Not because the pain disappeared, but because you had the courage to see beyond it. Now imagine that the light begins to cross this cracked mirror, not by the smooth and perfect parts, but precisely for the cracks, by the cuts. The light does not enter where it is whole. It enters where it is open, where it is sensitive, where it is exposed. And that changes everything, because it shows that your pains are not just weaknesses. They are portals. They are openings. These are spaces where consciousness can enter. If you look well, you will see your pain is exactly where healing wants to be born. The suffering that bothers you most is the most direct portal to reunion with your spiritual truth. And what seems to be the end often is just the beginning of reconstruction. This reconstruction is not about paste the mirror the way it was before. It's about setting up a new reflection, a new image, a new identity, not the one the world created for you, but the one that your soul came to live. And this new image doesn't have to hide the cracks. On the contrary, she exalts them, like those Japanese vessels of the kintsugi technique, where cracks are not erased but filled with gold, becoming part of beauty, part of the force, part of the story. Now think, how many times have you tried to hide your pain? How many times did you put a smile on your face to disguise the chaos you felt inside? How many times have heard phrases like, "This will pass, be strong, don't cry," how to feel it was a sign of weakness? And how many times did you swallow what needed to be said? Did you silence what needed to be heard? Did you keep what needed to be healed? These times they left marks, loose fragments within you, parts of your soul that still expect to be seen, because deep down, no pain wants to be eternal, no wound wants to be open, no shadow wants to remain shadow. They all just want one thing, to be welcomed, be integrated, be accepted as part of who you are. The pain only repeats itself when it is ignored, and she just screams because she was silenced. But when you look at her with the intention of understanding, not to flee, she transforms herself. Because what paralyzes is not the pain itself, but the resistance to feeling it. Think of your life like this mirror now. Look at everything you lived, what you have lost, which you didn't understand, which hurt too much to explain. And see all this as part of a great sacred mosaic. The full image is still being revealed, and it will only make sense when you stop trying to pull out the pieces that hurt and start including them with love. You don't need perfection, you need presence. You don't have to rebuild as it was before. You need to allow yourself to be born again with everything you have learned, with everything you felt, with everything you survived. Because the true brightness does not come from an intact soul. He comes from a soul that had the courage to look at himself even when everything seemed dark, and it was there that he found light. If this image touched you, if at some point you felt something wake up, comment below. Write, "My soul is Ryu no pieces." The light goes through my cracks. My reflection is revealing itself. These words are like vibrational seals, keys of affirmation, silent commitments to your own healing. Closes your eyes. Feel the image inside you, because it is from it that the journey continues, and the next step will show you how to rebuild this reflection with your own hands. Let's go together. It still has a lot to be revealed. Let's go together. It still has a lot to be revealed. Now that you have been able to see your pain with other eyes, see your fragmented reflex like a mirror that can be rebuilt, understand that light enters precisely through the cracks of the soul, the time has come to do something with it. Because it is no use just understanding. Consciousness is the first step, but it is the practice that transforms. That's what you do with what you feel like that changes your vibration. And here is the most important invitation of this journey. Stop running away. Stop distracting yourself. Stop postponing. The time has come to start to really heal. And healing is not to erase what was lived. To heal is include. It is to reconfigure the energy. It is rewriting the messages that were recorded in your emotional field. It is free what has been stuck inside you for so long. It is giving voice to your part that has always been silenced. It is to offer presence to what you always tried to avoid. You don't need external solutions. You need to go back inside. That's where it all starts, and I want you to do it smoothly, with respect to your time, kindly. Healing is not violent, it's delicate. And the first practice that can help you in this process is simple but deep. Meditation focused on pain. Find a quiet place. It doesn't have to be perfect, just need to be silent. Sit with the spine upright, your eyes closed, and bring your attention to your body. Breathe deeply a few times. It inspires slowly and deeply by the nose, and let go slowly through the mouth. Allow gradually your mind slows down. Now take your attention to the chest. Put your hand over the heart. Feel the energy there. Perhaps memories come up, maybe a tightness, maybe tears. Let it come. Do not control. Just be with you. Stay there for 5 minutes, silently. Just listening to what your body means. The pain wants to be heard, wants to be recognized. She does not need judgment, needs reception. With each breath, mentally repeat a phrase of affirmation, presence. I allow myself to feel. My pain has something to say. I'm here for me. This meditation, made regularly, begins to open a channel between you and your soul. It begins to take the suffering of the monster's place and put it in place of the messenger. This alone changes everything. Because pain only intensifies when ignored. When it is seen, it begins to dissolve. After that, you can do something even more powerful. Writing. Yes, write. Journaling is not just a beautiful habit, it is a spiritual tool. It is a way of shaping the invisible. When you write, you turn chaos into language. You release standing energy. You clean the field. You organize the emotional. Therefore, after meditation, or at another time of the day, take a special notebook, one that is yours alone. A sacred space between you and your truth. Start with simple but deep questions. Which pain is most repeated in my life? What is this pain trying to teach me? What am I afraid to look at me? What patterns keep me stuck in suffering? Write without filters. No fear of making mistakes, without trying to make it beautiful. Just write. Allow the truth to surface. And over time you will realize what seemed so confused begins to gain clarity. You start identifying the cycles. It begins to understand why certain people affect you so much. It begins to see the root of repetition, and from there is a space for something new. The possibility of reprogramming arises. And yes, you can reprogram your energy, reprogram your vibrational field, reprogram the way your soul responds to life experiences, because your pain created messages. Messages like, I'm not loved, I don't deserve to be happy, will always go wrong. These messages are in your field, vibrating, repeating, but you can rewrite them, can transmute them with conscious statements, not like who tries to convince themselves to strength, but as those who plant new seeds every day. So choose your statements with intention, and say to yourself every day, even if at first it seems strange, even if you doubt a part, I open myself for a new way of living. I deserve a life without constant pain. I choose to transform suffering into wisdom. I am able to break my cycles with conscience. I libero what no longer belongs to me. You can speak aloud, you can write, you can record an audio with your own voice. What matters is that you declare, because words have power. She S-shape reality, and the word spoken with presence is a frequency that crosses the field. The pain does not disappear from one hour to another, but every time you decide to look, feel, write, say, something in you changes. The field moves, the frequency adjusts, the vibration rises, and life responds. These practices are not just symbolic, they are technological, in soul technology. They play subtle structures that you don't even see, but that control a lot of what happens in your life. Therefore, it does not underestimate the power of silent meditation, of a page written with an open heart, of a phrase repeated with faith. It is in these gestures that the miracle happens. These are in these gestures that you get out of repetition and enter the creation. And now that you know that, there is no more excuse. It's not about having time, it's about choosing. It's about taking the first step, even in fear, even in pain, because your soul is ready. She just needs you to say, yes, I'm here. If all this made sense to you, if something woke up inside, comment below. Comment on truth, with intention, with courage. He writes, I'm ready to reprogram myself. My pain has something to teach. Today, I choose to break my standards. These words are like anchors in the sea of consciousness. When you write, you firm, you move, you manifest. Now take a deep breath, closes your eyes, feel what was vibrating inside, because it is from this feeling that everything transforms. Let's continue. The next part will show you what happens when you finally say yes to your own light. Let's continue. The next part will show you what happens when you finally say yes to your own light. Because that's exactly at this point where you choose to stop running and starts to feel, that the transformation happens. It is subtle at first, almost imperceptible, but it's real. You begin to realize that what once seemed like a dead end begins to open as a portal. The pain is no longer enemy, suffering is no longer punishment, and everything that broke you now starts showing you who you really are. A force you didn't know starts to emerge. Not an aggressive force who wants to overcome the world, but a silent, firm force that comes from the soul, comes from the reunion with its center, with its essence, with the real part of your being. You no longer need to live under the mastery of pain. You no longer need to keep carrying weights that are not yours. You no longer need to hide from yourself, because now you know the pain had a message, and you heard. And when the message is heard, suffering ceases to be executed and becomes master. It changes places inside you. It transforms itself. It does not disappear, but changes shape. It becomes sacred memory, becomes wisdom stored in the body. It becomes a source of empathy, compassion, spiritual depth. You start looking back with another look. Those experiences that have hurt you now begin to gain another meaning. Those people who wounded you, maybe they just played a role in your awakening. Those falls that seemed unfair, now they are steps of their maturity. It all starts to fit. It all starts to make sense. You look at yourself in the mirror and for the first time recognize someone who crossed the shadow and came out whole. All your way, with cracks, with brands, with imperfections, but whole. Because being whole is not being perfect. It is being real. It is being present in all parts of yourself. Light and shadow, laughter and tear, fall and rebirth. And in this state of presence, its vibration changes. You stop seeking love outside because it begins to feel love inside. Stop comparing yourself because you understand that your way is unique. Stop asking for approval because it begins to trust the truth itself. You are no longer living in automatic, is living with soul, with choice, with conscience. This is the transformation. That's when you realize that you no longer need to repeat the same standards. You no longer need to drag yourself into the same stories. You can choose different. You can respond differently. You can create a new reality. And it all starts the moment you decide no longer identify with pain, but reconnect with your essence. You are not the pain. You are the one who survived her. You are now writing a new story, no longer based on wound, but healing. You are the one who is transmuting suffering into wisdom, the confusion in clarity, the doubt toward, the arrest in inner freedom. And spiritual freedom is not absence of pain. It is a presence inside it. It is being able to walk with an open heart, even knowing it can hurt. It is not letting the fear of suffering prevent you from living. It is knowing that even if something happens, you now have internal resources to welcome, to understand, to stay whole. The pain taught you, and now she can rest, because you learn the lesson. And with this lesson, you get a new role in the world. You are no longer just who suffers, and it becomes who inspires, who welcomes, who guides. Because those who have already felt deep know how to play deep. Those who have already crossed the dark knows how to be light in the darkness of the other. You begin to understand that what you lived was not in vain. Everything you have felt can now become medicine. Medicine for you, medicine for the world. And from here, you can choose to be a channel of your truth, channel of your light, channel of your healing. This is the reaffirmation that your soul has been waiting for so long, the silent but powerful statement that you have returned to you, that you no longer need to repeat the past, that you are ready to live in the now and create from the truth, no more pain. Do you feel it? Do you feel that something has changed inside you? Maybe you don't know how to explain, but there is a different silence inside now, a lighter space, a lighter field, a deeper breath. Because the transformation has begun, and you are responsible for supporting it, for keeping it alive, by following yes every day to your own truth. If this part of the video played you, if you felt that something important has been recognized inside you, comments down here. No need to write much, just something that marks this moment. You can comment, "My pain became my master. Today, I reaffirm myself in my light. I transform suffering into wisdom." These sentences are more than words. They are energy decrees. They are codes of transformation. They create shape for what you are feeling now. Here, each new video is a new key, a new light, a new stage on this journey back home. Now take a deep breath. Feel what is alive within you right now, because what comes next will show you how to live this transformation in practice, how to support this new energy in everyday life, how to build a life that blooms from healing, no longer survival. If you got here, from the bottom of my heart, gratitude. This shows that you are committed to your journey, your healing, and your truth. And if this message has touched your soul in some way, take the opportunity now to subscribe to the channel. Here you will find content that speaks to what many do not have the courage to say, content that helps you reconnect with who you are real. If you felt this video was more than words, that it was a mirror, a hug, a turning point, leave your like now. This shows that this energy has resonated with you and helps this content reach other people who also need to wake up. And for me to know that you stayed until the end, comments down here. I choose to live with conscience. Write this phrase. It is more than a comment. It is a commitment to yourself, a decree for your soul. And now, before leaving, watch the next video that is appearing here on the screen. It is the continuation of this process and can help you deepen this transformation that you have started today. I see you there. Let's go together on this journey.